Hello everybody, this is a quick video. I recently received this question from a subscriber, so let me read it for you here. Quote, why are you so analytical about prepping for a WROL? Why aren't you instead prepping for the fact that the U.S. government will eventually start to imprison and execute people who don't bow to its objectives? End quote. All right, this is a fair question, but I think it also clearly illustrates a common think trap for preppers, and that's this: the impulse to prep obsessively for every imaginable scenario, which is not something that I myself would advise that you do, nor is it conducive to your mental health for that matter. Folks, no matter how much you try, you just can't prep for every single variable. More than this, you cannot control those variables as well. That's why for me, survival always comes down to a matter of degrees and not types. And let me explain that. Anyone can learn a type of action needed for a particular emergency. For this emergency, you do this and so forth. And that's teaching you the what of doing something. But it takes a real skilled thinker to take that same type of action and apply the appropriate degree of force or effort. Okay, don't apply so much here, or you got to do more over there, and so forth. And the appropriate degree of force or effort to get the job done is the how of doing something. So let's take the original question. Can I myself prepare for a kidnapping or imprisonment survival scenario? Could I? Perhaps. But that's totally asking the wrong question, which is going to result in a wrong answer. The more important question would be this: to what degree should I prepare for that particular type of scenario? And so when I phrase it like that, I'm doing two things. I'm adding context and perspective. And this goes for prepping in general. No matter who you are, you absolutely need context and perspective to make sense out of things, because without it, it's way too easy to go overboard and try to prepare for every little thing. And if you lose your center like that, it's going to make you vulnerable to hyped up rhetoric like they're going to kidnap you or they're going to imprison you. Okay, I might consider that possibility, and it's certainly a conceivable one. But how probable is it? Let me ask you that again. How probable is it? Really? I'll let you answer that for yourself. For me personally, before I ever act on anything, I'm always going to place a given survival scenario in context and into perspective. Let me illustrate that by sharing a little story. Some time ago, I worked for a while at this university, and according to my job description, I'd be required from time to time to meet with the president of this university. And he was a very cool guy, very down to earth, but he was also an expert political player. And I mean, he was deadly on the political battlefield. And he was both feared and respected, because on the one hand, he was a very likable and approachable guy. But if you crossed him, he was your most fierce political opponent and not to be toyed with. So he had that weird Godfather thing going on. And let me tell you, this guy faced battle after battle during his tenure, one after the other. And I'd sit back and say, oh man, he's going to go down with this battle or that battle. And he'd always come out on top. After a while, I just started to refer to him in private as the smooth operator, because he was a smooth talker and a smooth political assassinator as well. So here's the moral of the story. This president, as incredibly busy as he was, there was absolutely no way that he could have had the time or the energy to anticipate every single type of political battle. Literally impossible, folks. He was that busy. So he couldn't account for every little tiny contingency. So the question is, how did he compensate? Well, he did so by adapting. Number one, he chose his battles very carefully. And number two, he placed each of those battles into proper context. And in this way, he gained the necessary perspective to take the right offensive or defensive action in real time. The very same applies to the prepper. And much like the university president, we all, no matter who we are, no matter what capabilities that you think you have, we all have only so much time, energy, and resources, and that's a guaranteed reality, folks. We can realistically only prepare for a set number of probable disasters. That's the algorithm we're dealing with, folks. So choose a set of contingencies that apply to you, for your area, for your family's needs, and your budget. And please choose those contingencies wisely. Now, after that's accomplished, it's pretty much going to be a mental game from there on out, a mindset game. A strategic maneuvering game. Very, very much like the university president I just spoke of. It really will be. And that's exactly why I mentioned his example. Remember, no matter what equipment you have or what tactical procedures you've learned from this school or that school, how you deploy that gear or those procedures will ultimately depend on your mind, your analytical thought process. And that right there will be the ultimate deciding factor. That will determine your overwhelming success. Again, it's going to ultimately depend on, number one, your ability to choose your battles very carefully, and two, to place each of those battles into proper context. And that'll give you the necessary perspective to take corrective action in real time. Okay, folks, this is Analytical Survival saying stay safe and realistic, my brothers and sisters.